1. Introduction. RAWSEP view: the United States government was on track in the Biden administration to reduce the prices for both clean energy heat pumps and clean energy electric cars. Trump tariffs are expected to upset those plans to prevent future air pollution and prevent climate change. The United States government should, instead of certifying wood stoves as safe when they are not safe, go forward with regulations that ban wood stove use and direct government money for use of forest refuse only. For home building and furniture building, for just a few examples of use of forest products for non-burning uses, it is well known from scientific and medical research that wood burning is a substantial source of PM 2.5 emissions, yet the wood burning industry uses the scientifically debunked theory named carbon neutrality of wood burning to argue that wood burning replacing coal burning in industry and in a trickle-down argument that wood burning should continue for home heating should continue. Presumably because it is called renewable, wood may be renewable in the sense that a tree can be planted in the place of a cut-down burned tree, but it takes centuries or decades for the newly planted tree to attain the stature of the cut-down burned tree. During those centuries or decades, photosynthesis, which converts CO2 to oxygen and so sequesters some carbon, will not take place at the same rate as photosynthesis was performed previously, and wood burning emits both CO2 and PM 2.5, and PM 2.5 is not absorbed by trees, so PM 2.5 is not diminished by planting a tree in the place of a cut down and burned tree. In fact, a living tree closes its pores against the presence of PM 2.5 from nearby wood burning, just as humans hold their breath in the presence of PM 2.5 from nearby wood burning. And when a tree closes its pores, the level of photosynthesis that absorbs CO2 pollution goes down. Wood burning emits 90% PM 2.5 particulate matter of 2.5 micrometer size, the perfect size to infiltrate the human lungs, setting off a cascade of human health problems and early deaths. Contrary to many beliefs, wood burning emits 2.8 times the PM 2.5 as the fossil fuel coal burning, and wood burning emits 450 times the PM 2.5 as the fossil fuel natural gas burning. Replacing coal burning with wood burning creates more air pollution in the form of CO2 and PM 2.5 than coal burning. This emission data comes from testing the cleanest burning wood stove in the United Kingdom, the Eco-Design Wood Stove and International Convention does not count the emissions from wood burning. The emissions from wood burning are erased from all countries around the world when calculating if each country has met its climate goals. This non-counting or erasure of wood burning emissions data from climate goals does not mean wood burning emissions do not exist. RAWSEP view: purple air PM 2.5 monitors hanging from the eaves of the house of a near neighbor should be used to measure the level of PM 2.5 in the air hyperlocally in the yards of near neighbors of indoor residential wood burners. If PM 2.5 levels exceed World Health Organization standards of 5 micrograms per cubic meter annually, then that evidence of air pollution from wood burning should lead to the shutdown of that indoor residential wood burning appliance, one appliance at a time if necessary. Episode 57 DGA March 30th, 2025 Tesla Worldwide Day of Protests and April 1st, 2025 Wisconsin Election. In episode 57 DGA 1 Tesla Worldwide Day of Protests 1B World and Networker US Politics. When the physicists need burner phones, that is when you know the American changed to a United States top US vaccine official resigns over RFK Junior misinformation and lies. Dr. Peter Marks was seen as a guardrail against any future politicization of the FDA approval of life-saving vaccines. 2B United States and Wisconsin, another wipeout walloped Wall Street. Friday RAWSEP view: the economy and costs to the American consumer are on the ballot in the Wisconsin Supreme Court election held on April 1st, 2025. 2C United States, as Secretary of Health and Human Services Robert F. Kennedy Jr. shatters science and health agencies. The U.S. top vaccine regulator Dr. Peter Marks submitted his resignation today after being given the choice to resign or be fired. 3A the Florida alarm, as the Florida Republicans move to fill jobs of deported workers with children. It is insane, right? Governor Ron DeSantis leads push to loosen child labor laws as immigration crackdown leads to workforce shortage. 3B the Florida Trump is now personally campaigning for Republican candidate Randy Fine versus Democratic candidate Josh Weil in Floridia District 5, and for the Republican candidate Jimmy Patronis versus Democratic candidate Gay Valimont to fill the seat vacated by former Representative Matt Gaetz in the Florida District 1 for the special elections for the U.S. House of Representatives slated for April 1st, 2025. 4A Wisconsin Musk has contributed far more than in the Florida elections, more than $20 million to the April 1st, 2025 election for a 10-year seat on the Wisconsin Supreme Court. 4B Wisconsin GOP megadonor Dick Blind, a billionaire who lives in Illinois, is spending millions to aid right-wing Trump supporter and Musk ally Brad Schimmel in the Wisconsin Supreme Court election on April 1st, 2025. 5 Canada. Trump and tariffs enter the scene only days into the election campaign in Canada. Without advance notice to Canada, Trump put the auto industry into turmoil with a 25% tariff. 6A Greenland JD Vance accuses Denmark of neglecting Greenland and calls for self-determination. Denmark hits back at tone of the JD Vance criticism over Greenland. This is not how you talk to your close allies, says Danish Foreign Minister Lars Løkke. 7A United Kingdom new analysis highlights growing threat of eco-design stoves. RAWSEP view: just do not burn wood to begin with. Use the clean and cheap alternative in 2025 of heat pumps that work down to 40 degrees below zero. Also work as air conditioners and lower monthly electricity bills immediately. 7B United Kingdom. The Observer regarding Trump tariffs. Keir Starmer urged to get tough with Trump as U.S. tariff threat looms. PM told to be as robust as Canada with Trump as the UK stages last-ditch talks to strike trade deal. 7C United Kingdom down to the wire inside the UK. Crunch talks with the US as it bids to avoid Trump tariffs. Ministers seek carve-out from import taxes before April 2nd, 2025 deadline, but critics believe they may have offered too many concessions. 8A headlines: The Guardian March 30, 2025. 8B headlines: The New York Times March 29th, 2025. Main content: 1A world including Australia and New Zealand, and then across Europe and countries including Finland, Norway, Denmark, Germany, France, the Netherlands, and the United Kingdom. UK protests hit Tesla dealerships across the world in challenge to Elon Musk. From Australia to Europe and the US, demonstrators rallied against carmaker Musk dismantling of US federal government. Excerpts edited by RAWSEP for brevity and clarity in relationship to residents against wood smoke emission particulates. A 501c3 nonprofit organization, The Guardian March 29th, 2025, thousands of people worldwide protested Elon Musk and his efforts with Trump to dismantle the U.S. federal government on Saturday, with rallies held in front of nearly every Tesla showroom in the U.S. and many around the world. A concerted effort to go after the deep pockets of the billionaire as the CEO of the electric vehicle maker. Protest organizers asked people to do 3 things: do not buy a Tesla, sell off Tesla stock, and join the Tesla takedown movement. Hurting Tesla is stopping Musk reads one of the taglines of the group. Stopping Musk will help save lives and our democracy on Saturday, with more than 200 events planned worldwide. Protests kicked off midday in front of Tesla showrooms in Australia and New Zealand, and then rippled across Europe and countries, including Finland, Norway, Denmark, Germany, France, the Netherlands, and the UK. Each rally was locally organized with original themes. In Ireland, it was Smash the Fash. In Switzerland, had down with Doge. Photos posted to Blue Sky by Tesla takedown showed demonstrators in San Jose, California, close to where Tesla was previously headquartered, in Austin, Texas, where its headquarters are now. Musk, the richest person in the world, heads the so-called Department of Government Efficiency, Doge, which he is tasked with slashing federal budgets in the U.S., including laying off thousands of workers. Though he said in an interview Thursday, almost no one has gotten fired, he is gone after the Social Security Administration, the Department of Education, the National Park Service, and several more departments and agencies, causing widespread backlash and criticism. A protest at a Tesla dealership in Austin, Texas on March 29, 2025. In San Francisco, a crowd of around 200 people gathered in front of the Tesla showroom. Protesters spilled into the busy street and onto the median, confusing the self-driving Waymos, trying to get around people darting back and forth. A boombox blasted, "We are not going to take it by." Twisted Sister, and cars drove by honking enthusiastically, even passing postal trucks. Public buses and fire engines honked in support. People propped up signs with slogans like "Burn your swastika before it burns you" and "No Doge bags." Others flew massive American flags mounted upside down. The block-long Tesla showroom was emptied of all cars, and only a few security guards stood inside with some San Francisco police outside. "I am out here protesting because what I see is a hostile takeover of our country," said Myra Levy, who was holding a sign that said "Thief, we did not vote for this." 3 women with signs in Berkeley, California. The Tesla showroom has shut down every Saturday for the last month because of the weekly protests, according to salespeople from neighboring retailers. Only security guards have stayed on to guard the building. It has been the scene of lively demonstrations that have included a mariachi band and a 10-foot cardboard Cybertruck for people to spray paint. In New York City, several hundred anti-Tesla protesters gathered outside the EV company Tesla Manhattan showroom on Saturday. A woman aged 23, an organizer with Planet Over Profit, explained that the rally was not about protesting electric cars. "We are here to protest Musk, who has essentially held a Tesla car show on the White House lawn. We want to disrupt his business as much as possible." So that includes all Teslas, and not just the Cybertruck. An 82-year-old man said he was attending the New York City rally because "I am worried about my country." In the 1960s, he protested the Vietnam War. Now it is the overthrow of our country by oligarchs. He said the rally was a message to this guy Elon, who is buying our government. On Friday, the New York Police Department said its officers were searching for 2 suspects who allegedly carved the word Nazis and a swastika on the doors of a Tesla Cybertruck in Brooklyn this week, part of an uptick in attacks on Tesla vehicles and facilities across the U.S. since Trump took office. Sign says "Honk if you hate Elon." A protest in London on Saturday. In Washington, D.C., organizers plan a rally in front of a new Tesla showroom in Georgetown, making the theme Tesla Takedown Dance Party. Dump the meme stock, join dance lines, read the flyer. The stakes could not be higher, but that does not mean we see a not have fun. The hypocrisy is so deep, said a woman assistant professor at American University who has studied anti-tech protests, and points out that Tesla has received billions in government funding. It is this company that has been subsidized in a lot of ways by the government. But now the CEO is trying to dismantle the government. Anti-Tesla signs in Germany. Protest in Berlin, Germany on the Global Day of Action on Saturday. In the U.S., protests happened in nearly every state across the Northeast, South, and Midwest through to the West Coast states, with the most planned rallies included Massachusetts, New York, the Florida, Texas, Washington, and California, totaling more than 100. Several protests also took place throughout Canada. In London, dozens of demonstrators gathered at a Tesla showroom along the 3-lane A40 in West London. Musk is hugely abhorrent. He is funding the far right, and meaning that any Republicans who speak out end up not being funded in their next election, said a male gay UK campaigner. "It is too overwhelming to do nothing," said a UK woman who has family in the US and was protesting at the Tesla dealership in West London. "There is real solace in coming together like this. Everyone has to do something. We have not got a big strategy besides just standing on the side of the street holding signs and screaming Tesla takedown." Organizers reiterated the need for people to continue to speak out and protest against Musk, Trump, and Doge. "The stakes are high and no one is coming to save us," they say on their website. The woman from American University said she was struck by that sentiment, saying for there to be a nationwide and global protest saying "no one is coming to save us" just speaks to the level of anger and desperation. Right now, a swastika Tesla bears brunt of ire of people against Musk. Organizers have also been careful to distance themselves from the violent vandalism that has been carried out against Tesla showrooms. Dozens of Tesla facilities have been attacked in the middle of the night with Molotov cocktails, gunshots, or graffiti saying things like "fuck Elon" and "Tesla is fascist." Trump has vowed to designate any violence against Tesla dealerships as domestic terrorism. Tesla takedown organizers condemn the vandalism. "We are a non-violent grassroots protest movement," the group says. "We oppose violence and destruction of property. Peaceful protest on public property is not domestic terrorism." Thousands of people worldwide protested Elon Musk and his efforts with Trump to dismantle the U.S. federal government on Saturday, with rallies held in front of nearly every Tesla showroom in the U.S. and many around the world. A concerted effort to go after the deep pockets of the billionaire as the CEO of the electric vehicle maker Tesla. 1B World, the networker. U.S. politics. When the physicists need burner phones, that is when you know the American changed. U.S. academics, fearing persecution by their own government, are becoming ideological. Refugees, Europe and Britain must offer them sanctuary. Excerpts edited by RAWSEP for brevity and clarity in relationship to residents against wood smoke emission particulates. A 501c3 nonprofit organization, The Guardian, March 29, 2025 at international academic conferences recently one sees an interesting trend. Some American participants are traveling with burner phones or have minimalist laptops running browsers and not much else. In other words, they are equipped with the same kind of kit that security-conscious people used to bring 15 years ago when traveling to China. So what is up? While these academics have a finger on the pulse of the Trump America and are concerned about what might happen when they return home, they have read on the Substack of Robert Reich about the French scientist who was prevented from entering the country because U.S. Border Patrol agents had found messages from him in which he had expressed his personal opinion to colleagues and friends about Trump science policies to a United States. Top U.S. vaccine official resigns over RFK Junior misinformation and lies. Dr. Peter Marks was seen as a guardrail against any future politicization of the FDA approval of life-saving vaccines. RAWSEP view measles vaccines ignored by Health and Human Services. Leader Robert F. Kennedy Jr. excerpts edited by RAWSEP for brevity and clarity in relationship to Residents Against Wood Smoke Emission Particulates, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. The Guardian, March 29, 2025. A senior health official in the U.S. who was seen as a guardrail against any future politicization of the Food and Drug Administration approval of life-saving vaccines has resigned, abruptly citing the Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. misinformation and lies. Dr. Peter Marks served as the FDA top vaccine official. He had been lauded by Trump during the Trump first term for the Marks' role in Operation Warp Speed, the initiative that developed, manufactured, and helped distribute the COVID-19 vaccines. Marks had been given the choice to resign or be fired by a Health and Human Services HHS department official. He chose to resign. The FDA is a key federal agency within HHS. In a resignation letter referring to Kennedy, Marks wrote, "It has become clear that truth and transparency are not desired by the Secretary, but rather he wishes subservient confirmation of his misinformation and lies." Marks also issued a stark warning, according to media outlets who obtained the letter, saying undermining confidence in well-established vaccines that have met the high standards for quality, safety, and effectiveness that have been in place for decades at FDA is irresponsible, detrimental to public health, and a clear danger to our U.S. health, safety, and security. The departure follows reports that Kennedy has turned to a noted vaccine skeptic, David Geyer, to lead the HHS in a study of potential links between vaccines and autism. Any links between autism and vaccines have long been debunked. Kennedy has claimed he is not anti-vaccine, but for years he has led a movement to sow doubts about their safety and effectiveness. In 2021, a group then led by Kennedy called for the emergency approval of COVID-19 vaccines to be revoked, saying the current risks of serious adverse events or deaths outweigh the benefits. Studies later showed that claim was inaccurate. A study by the Commonwealth Fund found that COVID-19 vaccines saved 32 million American lives and prevented more than 18 million hospitalizations through November 2022. During his confirmation process, Kennedy ultimately secured the votes of almost all Republican senators, including Dr. Bill Cassidy of Louisiana, by promising that he would not change the FDA system for approving vaccines. But that system was overseen by Marks, who has been with the FDA since 2012 and oversaw the FDA division approval process for vaccines, biotech, and blood products. The Peter Marks departure comes a day after the Trump administration said it was laying off 10,000 employees at HHS. In comments about the move posted on YouTube, Kennedy suggested his office was facing opposition inside the department from defiant bureaucrats who had stopped his office from gaining access to closely guarded databases that might reveal the dangers of certain drugs and medical interventions. Some experts have warned that Kennedy and other senior Trump-appointed health officials may seek to challenge the authorization behind the COVID-19 vaccines. Kennedy also said in his confirmation hearings that he had been asked by Trump to study the safety of mifepristone, which is used for medication abortion and has already been extensively investigated for safety to the United States and Wisconsin. Another wipeout, walloped Wall Street. Friday, RAWSEP view the economy and costs to the American consumer are on the ballot in the Wisconsin Supreme Court election held on April 1st, 2025. Trump has endorsed Brad Schimmel, the right-wing candidate, and the liberal candidate Susan Crawford has been attacked in ads paid for by Elon Musk, the Trump right-hand man, in firing government workers and reducing government services such as Social Security for average Americans in order to fund tax breaks for the rich. The Wisconsin Supreme Court election is both a referendum in how the Trump administration is handling the economy and a test case for the right-wing Trump program. 2025 agenda for dismantling the power of the third branch of the federal government, the judiciary. Excerpts edited by RAWSEP for brevity and clarity in relationship to Residents Against Wood Smoke Emission Particulates, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. March 28, 2025. Substack letters from an American. Heather Cox Richardson, March 28, 2025. Another wipeout, walloped Wall Street. Friday, the S&P 500 had one of its worst days in 2 years, dropping 2%. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 715 points, losing 17% of its value. The Nasdaq Composite fell 27% on Tuesday. News dropped that the Trump blanket firings and wildly shifting tariff policies have dropped consumer confidence to a low it has not hit since January 2021. Today, the stock market tumble started after the Commerce Department released data showing that consumer prices are rising faster than economists expected. AIG chief international economist James Knightley said, "We are moving in the wrong direction, and the concern is that tariffs threaten higher prices, which means the inflation prints are going to remain hot. Business leaders like lower interest rates, which reduce borrowing costs and make it cheaper to finance business initiatives. But with rising inflation, the Federal Reserve will be less likely to cut interest rates." It was reported today that billionaire Elon, the Musk Department of Government Efficiency Doge, is planning to move the computer system of the Social Security Administration SSA off the old programming language it uses COBOL to a new system. In 2017, the SSA estimated that such a migration would take about 5 years. Doge is planning for the migration to take just a few months using artificial Intelligence to complete the change. Experts have expressed concern. A man who runs a technology strategy company that helps the government modernize its services said if you were not worried about a whole bunch of people not getting benefits or getting the wrong benefits or getting the wrong entitlements or having to wait ages, then sure, go ahead. More than 65 million Americans currently receive Social Security benefits today. Representative Don Bayer, Democrat of Virginia, recorded himself calling the SSA and being told by a recording that the wait times were more than 2 hours and that he should call back. And then the system hung up on him. Musk told a TV channel today that he plans to step down from DOGE in May, apparently at the end of the 130-day cap for the special government employee designation that enables him to avoid financial disclosures. In February, White House staffer suggested Musk would stay despite the limit. Today, the State Department told Congress it is shutting down the U.S. Agency for International Development (USAID) altogether by July 1st, 2025. Whatever agency functions the administration approves will move into the State Department. It appears the leaders of Project 2025 have chosen USAID as the test case to see United States as Secretary of Health and Human Services. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. shatters science and health agencies. The U.S. top vaccine regulator Dr. Peter Marks submitted his resignation today after being given the choice to resign or be fired. RAWSEP view. In his resignation letter, Marks expresses his deep concern about measles and RFK Jr. leading with misinformation and lies, and RFK Jr. ignoring using the measles vaccines as a critical tool to stop the current unnecessary if vaccines were taken United States measles outbreaks. Excerpts edited by RAWSEP for brevity and clarity in relationship to Residents Against Wood Smoke Emission Particulates, a 501c3 nonprofit organization, March 28, 2025. Substack. Letters from an American. Heather Cox Richardson, March 28, 2025. Marks has been at the Food and Drug Administration since 2012 and has been at the head of the Center for Biologics Evaluation and Research since 2016. In his resignation letter, Marks expressed his deep concern over the ongoing measles outbreak in the Southwest, now more than 450 cases, and warned that the outbreak reminds us of what happens when confidence in well-established science underlying public health and well-being is undermined. Marks said that although he was willing to work with Kennedy on his plan to review vaccine safety, it has become clear that truth and transparency are not desired by the Secretary, but rather he wishes subservient confirmation of his misinformation and lies. On Tuesday, news broke that Kennedy has tapped anti-vaccine activist David Geyer to lead a study looking to link autism to vaccines, although that alleged link has been heavily studied and thoroughly debunked. A woman infectious disease journalist notes that Geyer does not have a medical degree and was disciplined in Maryland for practicing medicine without a license. A male British investigative journalist who has written about the hoax that vaccines cause autism said, if you want an independent source, you would not go to somebody with no qualifications and a long track record of impropriety and incompetence like David Geyer. But the British investigative journalist said if you wanted to get anybody off the street who would come up with the result that Kennedy would like to see, this would be your man David Geyer. 3A. The Florida alarm as the Florida Republicans move to fill jobs of deported workers with children. It is insane, right? Governor Ron DeSantis leads push to loosen child labor laws as immigration crackdown leads to workforce shortage. Excerpts edited by RAWSEP for brevity and clarity in relationship to Residents Against Wood Smoke Emission Particulates, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. The Guardian, March 29, 2025. Beneath the smugness of Ron DeSantis at the Florida leading the nation in immigration enforcement lies something of a conundrum: how to fill the essential jobs of the scores of immigrant workers targeted for deportation. The answer, according to the Florida lawmakers, is Florida school children who as young as 14 could soon be allowed to work overnight shifts without a break, even on school nights. A bill that progressed this week through the Republican-dominated state Senate seeks to remove numerous existing protections for teenage workers and allow them, in the Florida Governor DeSantis' words, to step into the shoes of immigrants who supply the Florida tourism and agriculture industries with dirt cheap labor. What is wrong with expecting our young people to be working part-time now? That is how it used to be when I was growing up, DeSantis said at an immigration forum with the Trump border, Sir Tom Homan in Sarasota last week. 3B. The Florida Trump is now personally campaigning for Republican candidate Randy Fine versus Democratic candidate Josh Weil in Floridia District 5, and for the Republican candidate Jimmy Patronis versus Democratic candidate Gay Valimont to fill the seat vacated by former Representative Matt Gaetz in the Florida District 1 for the special elections for the U.S. House of Representatives slated for April 1st, 2025. Excerpts edited by RAWSEP for brevity and clarity in relationship to Residents Against Wood Smoke Emission Particulates, a 501c3 nonprofit organization, March 28, 2025. Substack. Letters from an American. Heather Cox Richardson, their Democratic candidate Gay Valimont, is running against Republican Jimmy Patronis in a district that elected Trump with about 68% of the vote. Like fine, Patronis is strongly backed by Trump and wants more cuts to the federal government. The Democrat Gay is a former state leader for Moms Demand Action and focuses on healthcare and veteran services. She has criticized the DOGE cuts to VA hospitals. Like, while she has significantly outraised her opponent, Republicans are concerned enough about holding the seats that billionaire Elon Musk, who poured more than $291 million into the 2024 election to help Republicans, has begun to contribute to Republicans in the Florida. On Tuesday, Musk spent more than $10,000 apiece for texting services for the Florida candidates. For a Wisconsin, Musk has contributed far more than in the Florida elections, more than $20 million to the April 1st, 2025 election for a 10-year seat on the Wisconsin Supreme Court. Excerpts edited by RAWSEP for brevity and clarity in relationship to Residents Against Wood Smoke Emission Particulates, a 501c3 nonprofit organization, March 28, 2025. Substack. Letters from an American. Heather Cox Richardson, Trump loyalist Brad Schimel, is running against Circuit Court Judge Susan Crawford in a contest that has national significance. Wisconsin is evenly split between the parties, but when Republicans control the legislature and the Supreme Court, they suppress voting and heavily gerrymander the state in their favor. When liberals hold the majority on the court, they ease election rules and uphold fair maps. Currently, the state gerrymander gives Republicans 75% of the state of Wisconsin seats in the U.S. House of Representatives, although Wisconsin voting in 2024 was virtually dead, even between Republicans and Democrats statewide, the makeup of the Wisconsin court could well determine the congressional districts of Wisconsin through 2041 through the redistricting that will take place after the 2030 census. Musk has told voters that if Crawford wins, then the Democrats will attempt to redraw the districts and cause Wisconsin to lose 2 Republican seats. Not only has Musk said he is going to Wisconsin to speak before the election, but also he is handing out checks to voters who sign a petition against activist judges. A suggestion that it would not be fair to unskew the Republican gerrymander. Last night, Musk advertised a contest that would award 2 voters $1 million each with the condition that the winners had to have already voted Wisconsin. This morning, Wisconsin Democrats issued a press release noting that Musk had committed a blatant felony directly violating the Wisconsin law that prohibits offering anyone anything worth more than $1 to get them to vote or refrain from voting. Wisconsin Democratic Party Chair Ben Wickler said that if Schimmel does not immediately call on Musk to end this criminal activity, we can only assume he is complicit. Musk deleted the tweet and then eliminating the language that said people had to have voted, posted that he would give the checks to spokespeople for his petition. Wisconsin Attorney General Josh Weil sued to stop Musk from any further promotion of the $1 million gifts and from making any payments to Wisconsin electors to vote. The Wisconsin Department of Justice is committed to ensuring that elections in Wisconsin are safe, secure, free, and fair. Call said in a statement, "We are aware of the offer recently posted by Elon Musk to award $1 million to 2 people at an event in Wisconsin this weekend. Based on our understanding of applicable Wisconsin law, we intend to take legal action today to seek a court order to stop this from happening." Midas Touch reposted the Musk offer to personally hand over 2 checks for $1 million each in appreciation for you taking the time to vote, and noted no matter what side of the aisle you are on, you should be appalled that a billionaire thinks he has the right to buy elections like this. Former chair of the Ohio Democratic Party David Pepper posted, "Have some pride, America. We are so much better than this guy thinks we are." 4B Wisconsin GOP megadonor Dick Uihlein, a billionaire who lives in Illinois, is spending millions to aid right-wing Trump supporter and Musk ally Brad Schimmel in the Wisconsin Supreme Court election on April 1, 2025. Uihlein, an heir to the Schlitz beer fortune and CEO of the box and office supply company Uihlein, has a net worth of $56 billion. MSN March 30, 2025. Dick, the Uihlein Fair Courts America, is backing Brad Schimmel in the 2025 Wisconsin Supreme Court race. RAWSEP View research from Open Secrets shows where some of the other money from the far right besides from Musk is coming from into the Wisconsin Supreme Court race to right-wing candidate Brad Schimmel in his race against liberal judge Susan Crawford. Excerpts edited by RAWSEP for brevity and clarity in relationship to residents against wood smoke emission particulates. A 501c3 nonprofit organization True North Research Org analysis of information from the Open Secrets website. March 12, 2025. GOP megadonor Uihlein, an heir to the Schlitz beer fortune and CEO of the box and office supply company Uihlein, has a net worth of $56 billion. Over the years, he has used that fortune to back fringe Republicans, including in state court races, as well as other nonprofit and media groups that push extreme policies. Dick and his wife Liz Uihlein were the second largest disclosed funders of federal outside spending groups during the 2024 Trump versus Kamala Harris election cycle. According to Open Secrets, Uihlein has also been behind efforts to oppose state ballot initiatives that would protect abortion access. Schimmel, who is backed by anti-abortion groups, has indicated he would reinstate the Wisconsin archaic 1849 abortion ban, and he recently accused the Wisconsin Supreme Court liberal-aligned justices, all women, of being driven by their emotions during oral arguments. Uihlein contributes to a network of nonprofits and super PACs backing the Schimmel campaign, including at least 3 groups running ads. On February 17, the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel reported that Schimmel was banking on special interest groups to buoy his campaign. "I am hoping that very soon we are going to start seeing friends like Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce Fair Courts America, other groups like that very soon they're going to get on the airwaves and help take some pressure off." That same day, the right group that goes by the name Fair Courts America, which is the Uihlein State Court-focused super PAC, filed its first independent expenditure in the race. It has now spent $25 million in TV and digital ads attacking the Schimmel opponent Susan Crawford. In 2023, Fair Courts America spent nearly $55 million backing Wisconsin Supreme Court candidate Dan Kelly, who lost. Schimmel also directed his donors to max out, then go to the party. "They will send me the check before this comment." Dick and Liz Uihlein had already contributed $13 million to the Wisconsin Republican Party this year, which has provided the Schimmel campaign with $167 million so far this cycle. 4C Wisconsin Supreme Court race, a litmus test for Elon the Musk political power. The high-stakes race will determine which party will control a court that will rule on abortion and voting rights. Excerpts edited by RAWSEP for brevity and clarity in relationship to residents against wood smoke emission particulates, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. The Guardian, March 29, 2025. A race to determine control of the Wisconsin Supreme Court that has profound stakes for voting, abortion, and labor rights in the state is also shaping up to be a litmus test of Elon the Musk political power, making it one of the most consequential elections of the Trump second term. Liberals currently hold a 4-3 majority on the state Supreme Court, but the liberal justice and Walsh Bradley is retiring. Susan Crawford, a liberal judge, is facing off on Tuesday against the conservative judge Brad Schimmel for the seat. The winner will determine which party has control of a court that is set to rule on the future of the Wisconsin 1849 abortion ban, collective bargaining rights, and the makeup of the Wisconsin's 6 congressional districts. The election has become the most expensive judicial election in American history, with more than $80 million spent on both sides so far. Musk began spending in the race earlier this year, shortly after Tesla filed a lawsuit challenging a Wisconsin law that blocks the company from opening car dealerships in the state. The super PAC of the billionaire Musk is offering $100 To those who signed a petition in opposition to activist judges, so far Musk and groups he funds have spent more than $20 million in the race on Friday, he posted on Twitter/X, and said he would campaign in Wisconsin this weekend and give away $1 million as part of a sweepstakes-like contest to people who had voted. He later deleted the post after experts pointed out such a program could be illegal under state law. He posted a revised tweet saying he would distribute the money to people to act as spokespeople for the petition. The Wisconsin Attorney General Josh Weil, a Democrat, also sued Musk and his PAC on Friday to stop the giveaway. This is kind of a test case for Elon Musk, Crawford, a former prosecutor, said in an interview. He wants to make sure that nothing stands in the way of what he is doing to try to dismantle the federal government. If there is a strong win for Crawford, it will at least be evidence of the energy of liberals and the extent to which opposition to the Trump administration to Elon Musk has been effectively activated. 5 Canada. Trump and tariffs enter the scene only days into the election campaign in Canada. Without advance notice to Canada, Trump put the auto industry into turmoil with a 25% tariff. Excerpts edited by RAWSEP for brevity and clarity in relationship to residents against wood smoke emission particulates, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. The New York Times, March 29, 2025. On Wednesday, the election campaign of Prime Minister Mark Carney had brought him to the bridge between Windsor, Ontario and Detroit, over which $300 million worth of auto parts crossed daily. Prime Minister Mark Carney announced his auto industry survival plan in Windsor, Ontario. He unveiled a series of promises of programs for workers and auto-related industries that would be rolled out if Trump imposed tariffs on products from the Canadian auto industry. Among them was a proposed fund of $2 billion Canadian to reshape the industry for a future without the U.S. market. The stakes are high. Cars and auto parts are the second biggest export in Canada by value and are an employer directly and indirectly of about 500,000 people, accounting for 10% of manufacturing gross domestic product. But what Carney nor anyone else in the Canadian government knew at that time was that a few hours later the program would no longer be something for an emergency situation. Trump, without first informing Canada, announced that he was imposing 25% tariffs effective April 2nd on all imports of cars and auto parts with no exemption for Canada. This is a direct attack, Carney told reporters at another campaign stop after the Trump announcement, adding that because of the tariffs, ties between Canada and the United States are in the process of being broken. Carney then suspended campaigning to return to Ottawa for a cabinet meeting the next morning. How to deal with Trump and his trade agenda were of course at the top of the list of issues when the election campaign began on Sunday, but few expected that the Trump actions would intrude on the first week of campaigning. Pierre Poilievre, the conservative leader, offered no specific plan for the auto industry to deal with tariffs. Liberals. Carney said his fund would build an all-in-Canada auto manufacturing network. He added on average auto parts cross the border 6 times before final assembly in a trade war that is a huge vulnerability. 6. A Greenland. J.D. Vance accuses Denmark of neglecting Greenland and calls for self-determination. Denmark hits back at tone of J.D. Vance criticism over Greenland. This is not how you talk to your close allies, said Danish Foreign Minister Lars Løkke. Excerpts edited by RAWSEP for brevity and clarity in relationship to residents against wood smoke emission particulates, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. The Guardian, March 29, 2025. Denmark has hit back against the J.D. Vance comments that Copenhagen has not done enough for Greenland. J.D. Vance made his remark on Friday during a trip to the Pituffik space base in northwestern Greenland, viewed by both Copenhagen and Nuuk as a provocation. Our message to Denmark is very simple. You have not done a good job by the people of Greenland. Vance told a press conference. You have underinvested in the people of Greenland, and you have underinvested in the security architecture of this incredible, beautiful landmass, the Danish Foreign Minister Lars Løkke Rasmussen said on X on Saturday. We are open to criticisms, but let me be completely honest, we do not appreciate the tone in which it is being delivered. This is not how you speak to your close allies, and I still consider Denmark and the United States to be close allies. 7. A United Kingdom. New analysis highlights growing threat of eco-design stoves. RAWSEP view. Just do not burn wood to begin with. Use the clean and cheap alternative in 2025 of heat pumps that work down to 40 degrees below zero. Also work as air conditioners and lower monthly electricity bills immediately. Excerpts edited by RAWSEP for brevity and clarity in relationship to residents against wood smoke emission particulates, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Air Quality News, March 29, 2025. Yesterday morning, Afzal Khan, Member of Parliament MP for Manchester Rusholme, hosted an event organized by Global Action Plan in partnership with Health Equals to discuss the issue of domestic wood burning in the UK. Also present were Right Honourable Lord Taylor of Holbeach CBD, Dawn Butler MP, Lord Randall, and Ruth Jones MP. Speaking at the event were Rohit Chakraborty from the UK Health Security Agency and Hazel Agamber from Mums for Lungs. Working from current figures, Global Action Plan believe that another million wood burning stoves could be installed in UK homes over the next 4 years. That is a rate of nearly 700 each day. When you see figures like that, it is no surprise that the stove industry is so defensive. One of the defenses they use is that eco-design stoves reduce emissions, framing them as a healthy option. However, Global Action Plan have analyzed the latest national atmospheric emissions inventory and EI data and found that over the last 5 years since these stoves were introduced, emissions from them are now equivalent to those from all English power stations. In December last year, Global Action Plan published a policy pathway document towards the phasing out of domestic wood burning by 2030, and they shared this with attendees at the event yesterday. The report recommends a variety of measures, including improving public awareness, enhancing the effectiveness of smoke control areas, such as by monitoring PM 2.5 levels in addition to visible smoke, and equipping local authorities with the necessary powers and resources to manage domestic burning-related pollution in ways that best suit their local needs. Larissa Lockwood, Director of Policy and Campaigns at Global Action Plan, said largely driven by a rise in urban homes installing wood-burning stoves, domestic burning is now one of the biggest sources of toxic fine particle air pollution in the UK and has become a public health problem. A relatively small proportion of people burn wood, and the vast majority of those who choose to do in our towns and cities so have another form of heating, but the health impacts are felt by everyone. This is a clear equity issue that should be addressed urgently by the UK government. We have developed a mix of policy recommendations with experts that, if implemented together, would effectively phase out air pollution from domestic burning in urban areas by 2030. We look forward to working with policymakers to ensure that ambitious action is taken to tackle this burning issue. Afzal Khan MP for Manchester. Russian commented air pollution is an issue that disproportionately impacts my constituents in Manchester. The burning of wood and other solid fuels in the home is one of the largest sources of fine particle air pollution in the UK, causing and worsening serious health problems including heart and lung disease, dementia, and diabetes. I want to see action taken so that people are aware of the health harms caused by domestic burning and everyone can breathe clean air. Hazel Agomber, volunteer for Mums for Lungs and Clean Air campaigner, shared her experiences of living in a wood smoke air pollution hotspot. I am the mother of 3 sons, a charity worker, and a cancer survivor. In the past 4 years I have been diagnosed twice with primary breast cancer. I was low risk for developing breast cancer on the other side in view of my lifestyle and my genetic profile. Yet 5 months ago, I was given a second diagnosis of breast cancer. I will never know for sure that living in a wood smoke hotspot has caused my cancer, but we know for certain now that breathing polluted air increases the risk of cancer. I am recovering at home from cancer surgery, knowing that I am breathing carcinogenic fumes from log burners of my neighbor's. Rachel Pigeon, portfolio manager at Impact on Urban Health, said wood burning stoves are a growing source of air pollution in urban areas like London, and that has severe consequences for health of people. But most people who burn in urban areas do so for aesthetic reasons and have alternative ways for heating their homes. Increasing awareness of the links between wood burning, air pollution, and lasting damaging effects on health is an essential part of reducing pollution from domestic burning and supporting a transition to other energy sources for those who need it. 7B United Kingdom. The Observer regarding Trump tariffs. Keir Starmer urged to get tough with Trump as U.S. tariff threat looms. PM told to be as robust as Canada with Trump as the UK stages last-ditch talks to strike trade deal. Excerpts edited by RAWSEP for brevity and clarity. And relationship to residents against wood smoke emission particulates, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. The Guardian, March 29, 2025. Keir Starmer should fight back strongly against Trump if he imposes punitive tariffs on British exports. Senior UK and EU diplomats said on Saturday night amid heightened fears that Trump could trigger a global trade war with devastating effects on the UK economy. British government officials in London and Washington are working frantically this weekend to try to persuade Trump not to slap duties on more key UK industries on what he is calling Liberation Day. On Wednesday, Trump has already announced plans for 25% levies on imports of cars, steel, and aluminium to the US. One vital battleground now is over the Trump threat to impose blanket reciprocal 25% tariffs on all countries that impose VAT on US exports. These countries include the UK and EU nations. The US does not impose VAT on its imports. The Office for Budget Responsibility, OBR, warned last week that a 20% increase in tariffs between the US and the rest of the world would cut UK growth by 1% and entirely eliminate the £99 billion of fiscal headroom that the Chancellor Rachel Reeves restored in the public finances by a painful program of welfare and other cuts. In her spring statement last week, Starmer appears to be waiting to judge how to react based on the level of any tariffs imposed on the UK. He is said by government officials to be ready to act in the national interest if Trump does hit the UK hard, but his team also says that he will be pragmatic if need be, suggesting he may not retaliate immediately in the hope of talking Trump around over time, and with the aim of creating the conditions for signing a wider UK-US trade deal. Starmer has already been warned by the Liberal Democrats against appeasing Trump by reducing a major tax for US tech firms at the same time as imposing savage welfare cuts, including on disabled people. Diplomats now say Starmer, who has refused to issue a word of criticism of Trump since his return to the White House, must be prepared to retaliate or run the risk that Trump simply deploys the same tactic again and again, knowing his opponent will not fight back. After the spring statement by Starmer, just 11% of UK voters expect the economy to improve over the next 12 months, with 23% saying it will stay the same and 61% that it will get worse. About 17% said they expected their finances to get better, 38% say that they would stay the same, and 41% that they would get worse. Voters in this country rate the UK economy relatively poorly compared with other large economic nations, particularly China. The UK economy is rated better than the economy of China by just 9% of UK voters, with 10% saying it is about the same and 43% saying it is worse. Only 15% say the UK economy is better than that of the US, with 16% saying it is about the same and 36% saying it is worse. 7C United Kingdom. Down to the wire inside the UK crunch talks with the US as it bids to avoid Trump tariffs. Ministers seek carve-out from import taxes before April 2nd, 2025 deadline, but critics believe they may have offered too many concessions. Excerpts edited by RAWSEP for brevity and clarity. In relationship to residents against wood smoke emission particulates, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. The Guardian, March 28, 2025. UK ministers and senior officials at every level are holding talks with US counterparts this weekend in a last-ditch effort to secure a carve-out from swinging import taxes. Government sources said ministers were raising the Trump-looming tariffs as the #1 issue in every conversation with the U.S. Trump announced on Wednesday that he would introduce a 25% tariff on car imports to the U.S. on April 3rd, which would hit British carmakers such as Bentley and Aston Martin. The government is seeking an exemption to the car tariffs in the wider package of measures that Trump is drawing up for next week as part of its plan for a U.S.-UK economic prosperity deal. Officials told The Guardian this week they were confident that there was an appetite for a deal on the U.S. side, but less confident that an agreement could be reached before further levies came in on April 2nd, which Trump has named Liberation Day. The UK is one of 4 countries alongside Australia, Japan, and South Korea engaged in intensive negotiations to secure exemptions before the deadline, according to a UK government source. Headlines 8A headlines. The Guardian, March 30th, 2025. World journalist Graydon Carter. If there was another 9/11 this week, I do not think the world would rush to support us. Graydon Carter. The Guardian. World protests hit Tesla dealerships across the world in challenge to Elon Musk. Protest. The Guardian. United States. It is a scary time. Artists react to Trump recent targeting of Smithsonian Institution. Trump administration. The Guardian. United States, the anti-women fertilization president who wants to have it both ways. Arwa Madawi, The Guardian. United States, when the physicists need burner phones, that is when you know the American changed John. Not in The Guardian. Greenland, a tip for J.D. Vance. Greenland does not care about your frail human ego. Sarah Didam, The Guardian. Greenland, so many souvenirs for J.D. Vance to take home from Greenland. Oil, gas, minerals, and that is just the start. Marina Hyde, The Guardian. Greenland, The Observer view on J.D. Vance, spurned in Greenland and humiliated at home, the vice president should resign. Observer editorial. The Guardian. United Kingdom down to the wire inside the UK crunch talks with the US as it bids to avoid Trump tariffs. International trade. The Guardian. United Kingdom, Keir Starmer urged to get tough with Trump as US tariff threat looms. Trump tariffs. The Guardian. United Kingdom, Prince Harry accused of bullying at scale by chair of charity he founded. Prince Harry. The Guardian. Yemen, I have got the message. Security leaks are no laughing matter. Stuart Lee. The Guardian. 8B headlines. The New York Times, March 29th, 2025. United States, should I fire him inside the Trump deliberations over the fate of Michael Waltz. The New York Times. United States, how Lee Zeldin went from environmental moderate to dismantling the EPA. The New York Times. United States, specter of auto tariffs spurs some car buyers to rush purchases. The New York Times. U.S. debt will mean significant risks for economy. Budget office says. The New York Times. California, Indiana, New Jersey, Pennsylvania. Johnny Mathis is retiring from touring after almost 70 years of crooning. The New York Times. Massachusetts, care about food waste in Massachusetts. You can be a compost consultant. The New York Times. Canada, Trump and tariffs enter the scene only days into the election campaign in Canada. The New York Times. Greenland, no second lady, no problem. The Greenland dog sled race goes barking on. The New York Times. France, U.S. presses French companies to comply with the Trump anti-diversity policies. The New York Times. Russia and Europe, how far does influence by Russia
One introduction. RAWSEP view. The United States government was on track in the Biden administration to reduce the prices for both clean energy heat pumps and clean energy electric cars. Trump tariffs are expected to upset those plans to prevent future air pollution and prevent climate change. The United States government should, instead of certifying wood stoves as safe when they are not safe, go forward with regulations that ban wood stove use and direct government money for use of forest refuse only for home building and furniture building. For just a few examples of use of forest products for non-burning uses, it is well known from scientific and medical research that wood burning is a substantial source of PM 2.5 emissions. Yet the wood burning industry uses the scientifically debunked theory named carbon neutrality of wood burning to argue that wood burning replacing coal burning in industry, and in a trickle-down argument that wood burning should continue for home heating should continue. Presumably because it is called renewable, wood may be renewable in the sense that a tree can be planted in the place of a cut-down burn tree. But it takes centuries or decades for the newly planted tree to attain the stature of the cut-down burn tree. During those centuries or decades, photosynthesis, which converts CO2 to oxygen, and so sequesters some carbon, will not take place at the same rate as photosynthesis was performed previously, and wood burning emits both CO2 and PM 2.5, and PM 2.5 is not absorbed by trees, so PM 2.5 is not diminished by planting a tree in the place of a cut down and burn tree. In fact, a living tree closes its pores against the presence of PM 2.5 from nearby wood burning, just as humans hold their breath in the presence of PM 2.5 from nearby wood burning. And when a tree closes its pores, the level of photosynthesis that absorbs CO2 pollution goes down. Wood burning emits 90% PM 2.5 particulate matter of 2.5 micrometer size, the perfect size to infiltrate the human lung, setting off a cascade of human health problems and early deaths. Contrary to many beliefs, wood burning emits 2.8 times the PM 2.5 as the fossil fuel coal burning, and wood burning emits 450 times the PM 2.5 as the fossil fuel natural gas burning. Replacing coal burning with wood burning creates more air pollution in the form of CO2 and PM 2.5 than coal burning. This emission data comes from testing the cleanest burning wood stove in the United Kingdom. The Eco-Design Wood Stove and International Convention does not count the emissions from wood burning. The emissions from wood burning are erased from all countries around the world when calculating if each country has met its climate goals. This non-counting or erasure of wood burning emissions data from climate goals does not mean wood burning emissions do not exist. RAWSEP view. Purple air. PM 2.5 monitors hanging from the eaves of the house of a near neighbor should be used to measure the level of PM 2.5 in the air hyperlocally in the yards of near neighbors of indoor residential wood burners. If PM 2.5 levels exceed World Health Organization standards of 5 micrograms per cubic meter annually, then that evidence of air pollution from wood burning should lead to the shutdown of that indoor residential wood burning appliance, one appliance at a time if necessary.